Well, I guess I'm the one introducing today, good morning, everybody. This is Jessica Vinton and Denise Hill, right? So Denise, you're the executive director for BHA.
Yeah.
And
Director of Development.
Director of Development. Okay. I know E-Town has been a long time supporter of BHA. And Liz and I got to know BHA primarily through Ridgeway when we were over there. So it's nice to see you again. And go ahead. Thank you.
Awesome. Well, I will start us off. As Greg said, my name is Jessica Vinton. I am the Director of Development for BHA. I was actually with BHA a while, for like 3 years, then I took a break, then I came back. So it's great to be back. I love going around and visiting all our member churches. And then Denise, I'll let you introduce yourself.
Sure. I'm Denise Hill. I am the Executive Director at BHA. And
Maybe on camera.
oh, I guess that would help. I'm Denise Hill. I'm the Executive Director of BHA. I just started with the organization in June. However, I have been in the housing and homelessness space for a number of years. So I've been very familiar with the organization long before I actually got the opportunity to join the team. So immediately prior to being with BHA, I was with the city of Harrisburg, had 3 departments. I was over housing, economic development, and planning and zoning. And I've also previously served as a director of housing and homelessness services for the YWCA of Greater Harrisburg in Harrisburg. So.
And I seem to always have executive directors who are much taller than me, so I always have to move screen. So we thought today might be fun. We did this activity before, and it was a trivia game. And so we thought, but it also kind of teaches about, you know, BHA and the issues that we see every day. So we thought we would try that with all of you, and then of course give time for questions either during or after, whatever works the best. So, shall we get started? Are we feeling, I grew up in the Church of the Brethren, so I know that sometimes we have like hidden competitive streaks, but like sometimes we're really laid back. So we'll see how we do here. So just a little heads up or a little background. Is everyone familiar with BHA? Okay. So we were founded in 1989. This past year, we celebrated 35 years. So that's very exciting for us. We have grown so much in the last 35 years. We've served over 1,200 adults and children and invested nearly $2 million into our block of Hummel Street. If you haven't been to our block recently, I would encourage you to schedule a tour and come out. It's incredible. We now own the entire block. We have 24 units. And it's just amazing to see. We love it. So our mission is to help individuals and families who are experiencing homelessness achieve their God-given goals by providing stable housing, supportive services, and loving relationships. And we are every day trying to build a future with hope for the families that we serve. So we're going to test your knowledge of BHA, homelessness, and affordable housing in PA. It's incredible to me. I'm constantly learning, and even Denise, who's been in this field for so long, we're constantly learning and things are constantly changing. So we think that some of these answers might surprise you, and maybe also help to get a better understanding of our work and the folks that we serve. So let's do a test question. How many years has our property manager, Mr. Dennis, worked at BHA? Does anybody know Dennis Saylor? No? Oh, okay. Well, here's why. The answer, 25 years. He is a staple of our block, and we have like jokes about him retiring. It's never gonna happen. We're pretty sure he's gonna be there forever. So if you ever come out and you want to do a work day or see, how all the work gets done, we introduce you to Mr. Dennis.
Yeah. So the next question we have is, how many individuals were identified as experiencing homelessness in Pennsylvania during 2023?
125,000. Wow.
12,556 Pennsylvanians experienced homelessness on any given night. So how we track that, we have a program called the Point in Time, which is conducted by the Capital Area Coalition on Homelessness. And it is actually done nationally, and it takes a 24-hour time kind of snapshot of how many folks are experiencing homelessness within that time frame. So we know that this number is likely very underreported for a couple of reasons. Everything has to be self-reported. So if someone chooses not to self-report during this 24-hour time frame, they do not have to. Also, we track unsheltered as well as emergency shelters and transitional housing. However, it does not count folks who are doubled up. So if folks are intergenerational and they have moved in with a family member or a friend to escape homelessness, they do not show up on this. And we know that that number is very, very large.
How do people self-report?
So we actually deploy teams, and we go to all of our known encampments, anywhere that we know individuals are experiencing homelessness. So right now, you'll possibly know of the big encampment near PennDOT in Harrisburg. So it's commonly called Tent City. So we know that we have about 120 neighbors living there at this time. We also work with all of the other shelters, and everyone reports for what their numbers are for that 24-hour time frame.
What percentage are below 18 children?
So we actually are doing a separate, so most of the ones that we come in contact with during the point in time are above 18. However, in June, a completely separate one is conducted specific to youth and young adults for the very reason that some may have, they're in the process of trying to be emancipated. They've run away. We know they're out of school at that time. So it is a completely different demographic. But those numbers are then compiled later in the year to do. So, and that's an interesting point that question brings up is the encampments tend to be very transient whenever someone finds that there is a child in the encampment, because as soon as a social worker or an organization shows up and knows that there are kids there, that family likely will pack up and immediately move. So a lot of times we work closely with Dauphin County Children and Youth because homelessness is not a crime. So, but the stigma is if I am unsheltered with my child in a tent, that Children and Youth are going to come and take my child from me. That is not the case. They will actually work with an organization like BHA and try to find housing so that we are able to remove that barrier of homelessness or housing insecurity.
And BHA also has a contract with Dauphin County Children and Youth to provide up to 8 houses for families who have homelessness as their one of the things they're working towards.
Yes.
Sorry to ask a question again.
Okay.
What percentage of the folks who are homeless actually have jobs that they go to?
A larger percent than most people think. So when I was at the city, we had a growing encampment along the riverfront that was growing. And there was this one particular set of tents that we would go out during the day and try to make contact with them to, see if we could make resources, provide, information, see what their situation was. And we could never find them there at the time. And then someone let us know that it's because they were actually full-time employees. So they were working the same hours we were working, so we could never make contact with them because they were working. So we do find that most of the individuals who are experiencing homelessness in our encampments, most of them do have some form of income, but there is a good bit who are actually working, and they just are unable to actually afford with what the rates are currently. And I think there's some information on that.
Question.
Sure.
Here.
So how many children and youth were identified as experiencing homelessness in Pennsylvania during the 2022-2023 school year? So across Pennsylvania, the Department of Education identified there were 46,714 children experiencing homelessness. So in Dauphin County, there were 2,373 unduplicated students. So that is really important because sometimes you will find, folks will move between different, school districts. So unduplicated means that that child was counted one time and then they did not show up in a different report or a different school district somewhere else.
So you're saying there's 12,000 some adults and 46,000 some.
And that hits on that point that Denise made about the about folks who are not, or who are not, like, who are doubled up, not being counted. So the majority of these, you can see here some of the numbers, 69% were doubled up or temporarily sharing a home with another family or friend. So that's part of that, that's why the 12,000 is so small, is because those numbers are not being counted.
And during our last fiscal year here, you'll see at the bottom, we served 100 children across all of our.
The ones in hotels wouldn't be counted either, correct?
Correct,
Yeah.
because they
In that first
typically, they
number.
have a shelter structure
In the 12.
for that night, for the 24-hour period. Also, another, area that is not counted is the emergency department. So it is always done the third or fourth Wednesday in January. So in Pennsylvania, we know what the weather is, right? So we have a lot of folks who will utilize the emergency department as a housing option during inclement weather. So the waiting room is open 24 hours, so they know that they are able to at least go in and be there and escape the elements for a while. So those folks are also not counted. True or false? The main cause of homelessness is substance abuse. That is false. And while it can be a factor in some of the situations, a lot of times that is not the main cause of homelessness that we are finding. And one of the biggest, main contributing factors is the lack of affordable housing. And then we all know that, I say all the time, affordable housing is not affordable. So I serve on a number of boards in addition to working for BHA and, to subsidize and build an affordable unit, it is upwards of about $280,000 just to build it for new construction. So, we know that that just is not affordable to majority of our neighbors within the community. What is the recommended percentage of one's income not to be exceeded for housing costs? 30%, yep. So 30% is that magic number, if you will. Anyone that spends 31% or more of their annual income on housing costs is what we would consider cost burden, or house poor is another term for it. So while in our program, no participant ever pays more than 30% of their annual income for program fees. So they are not tenants. We do not charge them rent. We charge program fees. And so it can be a sliding scale. So no two families are being charged the same amount because they come with different levels of income. So I'm catching in my peripheral, my hand.
And one of the other things that we've found, because of this growing need and the fact that affordable housing is not affordable, we are finding that a lot of our participants, they work hard, they go through the program, but when they graduate, there's still so many barriers. Whether it's a rental history, if they have a history of incarceration or criminal background or activity, a credit history issue, they can't afford a rent that, that does not severely cost burden them. So because of this, we did begin our permanently affordable housing program. We launched it in 2022 and it is growing. And so, my brain. So with this, graduates of the transitions program, they can apply to move into our permanently affordable housing. And they will live there as long as, they want to, and never paying more than 30% of their rent. So as they move through employment, that number will change with them. We currently have 3 permanently affordable housing units. The picture here is of our 3rd one that we cut the ribbon on, in May. And the woman who's cutting the ribbon, actually, she graduated from transition. She cut the ribbon in the morning and moved in the afternoon. So that was really neat. And then we did just recently receive, $500,000 from several different county agencies. So we will be, buying 3, maybe 4 houses to expand this program.
Because as you can imagine, like Jess was saying, we have families who are working incredibly hard. However, that year goes really quickly. So when they have graduated from transitions, we don't have anywhere, if the community outside of BHA, so our footprint is right there on Hummel Street. Once they are graduating beyond that block, we can't control what happens there. So, the criteria and eligibility to be approved for a rental unit, you have to make 3 times what the rent is. And the rent prices are already astronomically high. So it just is very, very difficult. So we can only provide that safe space of the permanently affordable housing program by as many units as we have available to offer to them. So we have folks who are graduating, we just don't have enough units to graduate them into the permanently affordable housing program. Yes.
You buying homes in any particular area, or are you buying these?
So the 3 that we currently have, 2 are within the city of Harrisburg, 1 is in Steelton. The next 3, maybe 4, that we purchase will be in Dauphin County, with the exception of the city of Harrisburg.
And the people that are in your program, are they living in your facilities as well, or?
They are, so they're in one of the 24 units that we have in the transitions unit, so they graduate from one of those units into the permanently affordable housing.
And if they graduate and there's no place for them to go, where do they go?
So we are working at about the 9-month mark to help assist them. So we are either connecting them with another organization that might provide, because some of them only may need help with the upfront cost of moving in. So they can maintain a rental unit, but first month, last month, double, triple security is hard for them. So we connect them with a resource that will be able to pay that. And then they can gives them an on-ramp. Others, we're just really working on landlord engagement. So we're working with landlords all throughout the region who are aware of BHA and are sensitive to the community that we serve. So we work with them to adjust what the price is to fit specifically for whatever family is graduating. But it's all hands on deck for every individual family.
And what kind of support do you give them after they leave your program?
So we do have an aftercare program. If up to 1 year, they are able to come back. If they, hit a hiccup or a bump in the road, they are able to come back and connect with us, and we will continue to work with that. I always say, just in the 6 months that I've been there, I have seen folks come back and, life happens. So they're just like, they knew that, BHA was kind of the anchor for them at a really troubling time. So they came back, so they're stuck with us. So if they need us, they can come back and then we'll just kind of readjust.
And all of the families in the permanently affordable housing program also have a case manager. So they will continue case management, just check in. I think it's every month.
Yes,
Once a
yep, once a month.
yeah.
The transitions is case management weekly, and then permanently affordable housing, just because they have a different level of need from a case manager. How much does a family have to earn to afford rent for a modest two-bedroom apartment in Pennsylvania without paying more than 30% of their income? So here we see the numbers here. An individual would need to make about almost $27 per hour. And minimum wage is $7.25 an hour. So right there, you see what the disparity is of what folks are earning versus what they would need to earn in order to be able to afford, again, a modest two-bedroom.
That's
So,
53,000 a year.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's not much.
Yeah,
But
and then, oh, sorry.
So you're-
So someone would need to work at $7.25. So the community that we serve, a lot of folks, that's what we see around that amount. They would need to work $145 or hours per week in order to afford fair market rent.
and
that
that
is-
fair market rent is $1,365, which is more than some people pay for their mortgages.
Yep.
And I mean, that's a huge number.
Yeah.
So,
And that's the roof and the door. We haven't cut the lights on, there's no heat, there's no food, there's no transportation to get to a job, daycare, literally that is just for the structure. How many affordable housing units are available per every 100 extremely low income renter households in Pennsylvania? Not enough. So there are only 41 affordable and available rental homes per 100 extremely low income renter households. So as we see, for every 100 people that need it, only 41 even have an available unit to go to. So we are constantly upside down with the need versus the resource. So that's why the permanently affordable housing program that BHA has and the expansion of it is so critical, because we are doing, this heavy lift on the transitional housing side, but there will always, and that's at large. So we're just talking about how we have 24 units, but only 3 permanently affordable housing. You're already seeing the disparity there. If all 24 of the families graduated, we wouldn't have the ability to put them into a permanently affordable housing unit yet. How many transitional housing units does BHA own and operate on our block of Hummel Street? Just a couple times. So as we said, we have a total of 24. So those are on the 200 block of Hummel Street, and then 2 of them are actually right around the corner on Mulberry Street. But we have a really great footprint right there, the Hope on Hummel. So very, very grateful and thankful to be able to be right in the heart of the community. A couple of weeks ago, we were doing a tour and we're, pointing out units and explaining something to the group that we were with. Someone actually starts to ride by on a bike and he said, when I was a little boy, I lived in that one, so just seeing, and then he started to speak about the transformation of that part of the community and seeing like what else is going on immediately around it, but just the impact that BHA has been able to have, and really stabilizing that block and then transforming the lives of those who live there.
it was a very good moment. We even said, we didn't plan for this.
Yeah.
It was very helpful.
It looks so orchestrated and it wasn't.
Just wanted to point out also that, the relationship that our participants have with their family advocates is crucial. They help them, they meet weekly, but they're also very available to help them, at other times, not just at their session. They help remove these barriers. We also have, Job Club, which we've started. And so this is a picture of our job club. So we did serve 46 families last year, for a total of 146 across all of our programs. So each person in those programs is receiving, really individualized support.
And the family advocate is the case manager?
Yes, yes. And just speaking a bit about the relationship of the, the family and BHA. So we work on the block that they live on, and that is very much kind of the setup of it. But the relationship of the entire team is incredible. So the kiddos come in and, someone may need to pop over and ask a question, or they're having case management, but we have toys and things here in the common area. And I always tell the story. I was in a meeting in my office that you can see right back there with a bank executive. And, he's dressed and I'm dressed and, we're having a very serious conversation. And my door pops open and a little walks in and climbs up in my lap and she looks at me and she says, "I need a snack." And I look at this bank executive and I'm like, pardon me, she needs a snack. And I go to our kitchen and, grab an applesauce pouch and some crackers and come back and we sit back in the chair and then I'm like, okay, and you were saying, and we had the rest of the meeting, but that means so much to me that these children know that they are safe with us. Mom can be really, really frustrated or don't know what's going on and she can come to our office and knowing that, for that time, I can love on and give baby a snack while she is able to work through an issue, just knowing because, imagine how hard it is. I don't know, everything seems like it is upside down and my baby needs a snack. How do I prioritize those two things? So having a safe space with us, they're able to come in and, we've always got snacks.
If you ever need one.
True or false? BHA only serves mothers and their children experiencing homeless. That is false. So for 30 years, it was a program for single mothers and their children. And then just a couple of years ago, we've actually had 2 fathers come through the program. So all of our language and our services have been expanded, understanding that while the numbers may be lower, but they're not as low as, most people think. There are fathers who are full-time parents and they have sole custody and they too are also experiencing, housing insecurity. So BHA is able to serve them and their children as well. So here in this picture, you see one of the fathers that successfully went through the program. He was a graduate.
And he actually graduated and moved into his house with his son, like 2 weeks before Christmas. So they got to be together in their own house for first time in a while.
Yeah. And that's the beauty of owning the unit. So a lot of times when folks think about transitional housing or a shelter type living, it's congregate. So you think that it is just a whole bunch of people, almost like barrack style. These are full-blown apartments. So they have, their own home. So it's able that, we can have families moving in together all throughout the block.
It was a really positive thing too during COVID because of the congregate shelters weren't able to take folks and had to separate everybody. But because of the individual units, we were able to maintain our services and our housing.
What is one of the most significant barriers that our participants face as they work towards financial stability and permanent housing?
This could surprise you.
Childcare.
Childcare? Any others come to mind? Transportation. So childcare is one of them. Employment is one. Lack of affordable housing, as we've been talking. However, if I can't get to where I need to get to, transportation always remains one of the biggest barriers that our families face. You think about it.
Cost, too,
Yes.
just as a barrier, the
Mhm.
cost, the availability of it.
And you think about it, whenever you have to take your car in to get service, unless you have another vehicle or you have a rental, or, some other, resource to be able to get around during that time. So I just recently, at the 30th or 31st of December, I took my car in for what I thought was a real quick, 15-20 minutes inspection. I'll get it right back. I'll Uber over. I had even thought about just sitting there while they did it. And, an hour goes by, 2 hours goes by, and I'm like, and they called and they was like, you have a broken rack and pinion and it's gonna cost $3,500. And I was like, I don't even know what that is. So I called my dad and he's like, yeah, those are expensive. But I know what it is for me, and how it just kind of switched that fast. So understanding, everything that I had to navigate, and I still had meetings and I still had to, do all of these things. It could be a barrier for any of us, but knowing when we're picking and choosing between, housing and utilities and food and now transportation, it gets really, really, really difficult for our family.
The pictures here, I just wanted to share.
Yes, yeah.
So we have, is anybody familiar with Margie Folk? Mechanicsburg Church of the Brethren. I just feel like everybody who's a Church of the Brethren should know each other. So, she actually, her volunteer work that she does for BHA is she teaches our moms and dads how to drive. So she will take them around, teach them, and then take them over to get their license. So this is one of our participants who got her driver's license, and then she was able to buy a car, and that's her in the top picture too.
Yeah.
So it was a very exciting full circle moment.
Everybody should know Margie Cole. I love her. What is the name of the volunteer opportunity that allows individuals and groups to clean, furnish, and decorate the apartments for incoming participants? It is our Adopt an Apartment program. So I love this program. So essentially, when a participant moves in, they are able to come in, do the final intake piece of their interview, and then they get the keys to their unit and they move in, and everything is fully furnished and stocked, including the kitchen. There's food in the cupboards. They can make dinner in their new home that night, immediately upon move-in. So we have incredible volunteers who will pick an apartment, and we let them know all of the specifications of the family who are moving in, and then they furnish it based on the needs and, the likes and wants of the family. So everyone is able to move in. Bedrooms are personalized. It is so, so amazing to see. And then upon graduation, the family is able to take everything with them. So then the apartment then becomes available to be adopted again. Did I see it?
You answered it.
Oh, yeah.
And then because they can take that with them after they graduate, they don't have to start new once they get to their permanent housing. And you might notice somebody looks familiar in that picture at the very end. That was when Pastor Liz was at Ridgeway, at the Ridgeway group. So she's in that.
And one of my favorite, like I was on the job a couple of days. So I'm shadowing everybody and someone happens to be moving in at the same time. And the family goes in and there was a young son and he runs into a bedroom and he sees that there are Legos there. I love Legos. Like, can I borrow these while we're here? And the family advocate says to him, no, you can't borrow them. And he goes, oh, okay. She says, because they're yours. And when you graduate, you're able to take it, with them. And then I just start sobbing and the family advocate's like, who did we hire? But like, I'm just completely overcome with, just gratitude to be able to be affiliated with an organization that is, just able to do this. So. Is it? Yes. So I was supposed to do 2 slides and then just never walked away. So,
Hey, you're good. Here, let me.
yes, ma'am.
So you might have started with this, but over time, then how many different families have moved in and out of that program?
So there have been 1,200 individuals total in the last 35 years.
you know, about how many families that is? That's,
I don't, and no.
it's a lot of preparing apartments over and over.
It is,
Yeah.
and one of the things that, because we're transitional housing and we have, when BHA first started this program, we had families for up to 2 years. So it was a longer period of time, less people in the program, but it's a very specific, individualized focus on the families coming in so that there's longer, stability and success for the family. So sometimes people look at the 1,200 like, well, that's not that many. Well, actually it is.
Yeah.
So,
I may have missed it, but what do you do during that year, your program? What kind of skills and what are you working on during that year?
So during the year, in addition to the weekly intensive case management, we, as soon as they come in, we kind of do an intake to see where they are. And then from there, every 3 months, there is a check-in to see if we are moving towards a goal. So there's a goal plan that is created at the beginning, and then that's what we are tracking all throughout the year. So we are looking at income, education, employment. Some of them need to just work on a savings plan, or they are able to pay down a debt, get their credit, right? So since it looks different for everybody, it's just whatever the situation is, and then we're looking at that. Some of them is fines and costs and restitution that they have to pay off because of a criminal history. So whatever that may look like. Again, we do job club twice a week. So it's every Tuesday and Thursday. So someone is able to come in, they can sign out a laptop, they work on their resume, we do interview prep. And then we're actually linking them with actual jobs. We do life skills every Monday. So either we are doing a curriculum about financial literacy, nutrition, housekeeping, mental health, self-care. We work through a curriculum on those things, or we have an outside group who will come in, and because sometimes they don't want to hear, us talking to them. They see us every day, all throughout the week, so.
I have,
Go ahead.
okay, I'm imagining now, my question comes from my imagining, that I have lived on Hummel Street, in the middle of Hummel Street, for about a year now. So I've experienced Hummel Street, and I've experienced the surrounding community. So what have I experienced in terms of community identity, block parties, do I know my neighbor? What kind of community identity is there on Hummel Street? The second part of that is, how have I experienced the surrounding community? Is it a food desert? You already mentioned transportation, but has the health of that street expanded beyond the street? Or have bad influences infiltrated that street, or both? I mean, what have I experienced in that year in terms of community identity in the street and the impact of the environment?
Great question. So one thing that yes. So we work really, really hard to have a community of BHA. However, that can almost be a microcosm of like, this isn't the 300 block of Hummel Street. This isn't Harrisburg at large. This isn't, so we have to be very, very careful of what it feels like just being on the 200 block of Hummel Street. So to kind of get to some of the points of your question, just in the next block up, there are probably 4 units of low-income homes for sale through Tri-County Housing Development Corporation. So that speaks to just our block is here, but what does the rest of Hummel Street look like? So most of it is very, very quiet. If you heard in the news, we did have, unfortunately, 2 shootings on the block further up just within the past 2 weeks or so. So we do recognize the section of Harrisburg that we actually are in. So we have cameras on every single property that we have, so it is incredibly safe on our block. but we recognize that, Harrisburg is almost under siege, on any given day. So we do recognize that as well. We do find that we have families who make very strong bonds. We have two mothers who met each other while living on the block, and they are now best friends. They graduated, but they take a family vacation every single year to the beach together. And that is because of that community style living that was fostered while on the block. And that's also why I love personally the permanently affordable housing program of looking at homes outside of Harrisburg. Some folks we know born, raised in Harrisburg, that's all they know. Some of them are born and raised on the hill and don't even really go on uptown. So Harrisburg feels really big to them, whereas, we zip all throughout the county, anytime. But not everyone is like that. So it is really important to really respect the fact that some folks need that close proximity to what they know. That's where their success is. I need to be able to walk across the street. My family advocate is there when I'm having a tough time. But then there are others that are saying Harrisburg is all I've ever known. In order for me to be successful and to give my kids something different, I think that I need to move a little further. So we just had a participant graduated and she moved about 45 minutes up to Williamstown. And she found a school district, and it was really important for her to not be in Harrisburg. So really respecting the desires and the needs of each individual family of understanding what they want for themselves and then working with them to get it. So it's not so much as us giving it to them, but walking alongside them as they move towards it. I know I saw it right here in the.
Yeah, I was just gonna mention that, one of the people in the picture there, Linda Giesemann, is my cousin. She's in the adopt apartment. She's told me, what's that?
41.
Yeah.
41 apartments.
She's done 41.
She led the charge for Ridgeway.
Yeah.
She actually has a moving company now that she partners with.
Really?
Getting stuff out of her garage.
That's what I was gonna say.
Amazing, though. Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
No, that's okay. That's what I was gonna say. She told me that, I don't think she keeps her car in her garage. She just has her garage full of whatever somebody wants to get rid of. She just keeps it there. And then when there's an apartment, then she's got all this to pick from, and then whatever else she needs to make it more personal, she'll go to Goodwill and find that exact lamp
Yep.
for that spot.
Yeah.
So,
It's incredible how people have gotten involved. My mom, she's at Spring Creek and she's gotten them involved, and we have the barn at my parents' house that's filled with stuff. They actually rent a storage unit of stuff. They've got a whole room that they can pull sheep from and things. So, it's amazing because it's an ongoing need.
Yeah.
So.
You have a fine-tuned program. Has that been expanded? Have other people, especially in Harrisburg, have others taken other sections and done this same kind of thing? Or have you shared this with other communities beyond Harrisburg? And, and I guess I wonder, that's one question. And I also wonder, what does Harrisburg City and the Dauphin County do to help your program?
So Harrisburg City and Dauphin County are very, very thankful for BHA and knowing the pristine reputation that the organization has. The city may feel some type of way because they poached me and I left the city and came to BHA, but it's fine. No, but the county, like we said, we have multiple partnerships and contracts with them. One being the multiple agencies that have gotten together for the permanently affordable housing for the 500,000. And then also with the children and youth contract that we have. So understanding that this is hard work, but we're never kind of gonna run out of the work, unfortunately. So partnering with the organizations that do it well. We have been in communication with other communities. So just on Wednesday or Thursday, had a group come up from Carlisle, and they are interested, and they said, listen, we want to do this type of work, and we keep hearing about BHA, so we just got in the car and came on up to see what it is. And that's what is so powerful is I can get on the phone or on a Zoom and talk about it all day long. But it is very different being on the block and being able to see what that work is. So we're always open and welcoming folks to do that. So, yes, to all of that. The city, is a great partner in housing and homelessness. This current administration, Mayor Williams, it has been one of her priorities has always been homelessness. So she is very vocal and working with any organization that is trying to tackle the issue.
And one of the things you said about the county and the city, the county money that we mentioned about getting permanently affordable housing, all of that money was actually, we were asked to apply for it, or it was like presented to us. So I think that was a very proud moment for both of us, knowing that we have people coming to us saying, you guys are doing this great, so can you please keep going? So,
I know not a lot of, or a smaller percentage of families who are dealing with homelessness have substance issues. But is it required that they not have substance dependency or abuse if they're gonna be in your program?
It is. So we do have a drug and alcohol-free zone. We have a policy that is one of the ways that a family can be dismissed out of the program prior to graduation. And it's only related to safety and security. So those are the only ways that a family we would recognize that this is not a good fit right now, but we will work with you until you are safely, placed somewhere else. But it is obvious, just because it is a factor, and it could be a self-medication due to undiagnosed mental health or, any of the reasons. However, I am constantly thinking, and the team is constantly thinking that we've got 24 families to make sure are safe and thriving and moving forward. So we have to think of the health and well-being of everyone on the block.
one of the things that we do as part of our transitions program also is to connect families with our community resources and our community partners. So if somebody has some undiagnosed mental health issues or diagnosed, they need help or, whatever, there's a lot of organizations in our county doing great work. And so we're able to connect them for ongoing resources and care.
Another question, what about intellectual disabilities? Do you find people coming in are able to work in your program or?
We do. And also through Dauphin County Systems of Care. So we do cross systems meetings. So in that kind of formula, if you will, everyone who works to serve an individual or a family meets routinely to talk about so that there are no duplication in services or gaps in services. So understanding how we can best be advocates for our families who are there. So sometimes it is an intellectual or a different ability, and sometimes it is just, I've never experienced this before and I don't know, what to do. So a lot of times there are systems that sometimes I think by design are hard to navigate. So if I get frustrated and I just walk away, I'm no closer to a solution. So having a family advocate or the BHA team to walk alongside you to know the question to ask or to, how to fill out a form, how to read the form is more helpful.
You indicated earlier that ideally somebody needs an income of about $50,000 to be able to afford what's out there. How many of your graduates have income at that level when they graduate so they can afford what's traditionally a two-bedroom apartment?
Probably, would you say any?
No.
Yeah.
So how do they deal with that? They're paying 40-50% of their income for their houses, or what do they do?
That and looking at other ways of linking them with another organization that are able to pick up after our 1 year has ended, or maybe our 11 and a half months, or, a year and, a little bit longer. So, but yes, we have to absolutely link them with another organization that is able to help in that interim time so we can keep the recidivism down.
Like there are different housing programs, like housing vouchers and stuff
Yes.
that they could.
Yeah, so Harrisburg Housing Authority, or Dauphin County Housing Authority, so that's the housing choice voucher, what used to be called Section 8. The 811, that's through Dauphin County, but that is specific for individuals with a different ability who are on a fixed income, on Social Security, and it is not as simple as get a different job or go back and get a degree, and then that way you'll be able to earn more money. They are on a fixed income, you know, possibly for the rest of their lives, and this is what kind of the reality is. So linking them with the 811 program, then they continue to have a case manager through Dauphin County Housing. They have stable, safe housing. And then that way they are able to be safe and secure without a matter of, well, just work some overtime and, you know, get as close to the 145 hours a week as you can to afford to live. That's not practical.
One of the families in our permanently affordable housing program has 5 children. All of them have special needs. So she can't work a full-time job. So being in our program has allowed her to actually be able to save money, to, you know, purchase a vehicle she needed, to be able to take care of her kids. So kind of just an example of some of the things we need to.
And then we're able to also work with like homelessness liaisons in the school districts. And so we work with Harrisburg specifically, or Steelton, because we have the one unit in Steelton. But just about every school district has a liaison within it. So they are sensitive to the needs of families who are experiencing homelessness. So we're able to work directly with them and then just, you know, resource out and make those connections.
How do you receive your participants initially?
Sure. So there are 2 ways that someone can come into our program. One is through our coordinated entry system. So Capital Area Coalition on Homelessness, or CASH, that I was talking about earlier, has a coordinated entry system. And essentially it is a vulnerability index. There's an intake, you get asked a whole lot of questions, but it is to best identify the resource for someone to go into. So a lot of times what happens is there is an open resource, there's an open bed, but then there's someone who needs a bed, but this bed or this program might not be the right fit, but I need somewhere to stay, so put me there. Well, then I go there, now that is one less bed for the right person that's supposed to be there. And also the success rate is going to be lower because it wasn't the right program for me to start with. So CASH intends to link people with the right place the first time. So the coordinated entry system is one way that we take. We actually reach out to them, let them know, hey, we've got a unit, it's a 3-bedroom, you know, we can take X amount. And then they go to that vulnerability index, the list, and pull the next family that is available that fits that need. And then we're able to start the process while the Adopt an Apartment program is, you know, getting it all up and running. So then it just kind of streamlines it. The other way is through Dauphin County Children and Youth. So we have a contract, like Jess was saying, we have 8 units where we're able to put those in. Did you have a question?
Will the anti-immigrant stuff going on in our country right now affect your program at all?
Not at this.
We are in the same building as BCMPs. And a couple other organizations that are kind of on the watch for that, and it affects their folks a little bit more.
And that goes back to your, what does the kind of community look like? So, because we are in the same building as BCMP, we work very, very closely with them. So they provide programming as well. So there is something going on the block 7 days a week between whether it is us and case management or Saturdays. There is a very robust breakfast program that is open to anyone in the community. There's a free store. There's English as a second language classes that occur, computer classes. And then Sundays are church, as well as now it's been expanded to a warming shelter. So a drop-in, so folks can come in and charge a phone and just kind of get out of the cold for a couple of hours. on Sunday afternoon.
What is BCMP?
Oh, it's Brethren Community Ministries. It's the Harrisburg First Church of the Brethren. It's their nonprofit arm. So Pastor Josiah Ludwig and Pastor Lexi of Harrisburg First Church, they kind of help to run that too. So that's where they provide, like Denise said, they provide the food pantry on Fridays. They have youth programs that our youth actually attend as well. And then a couple other things.
As well as anyone who needs help getting like a birth certificate or an ID, they will pay for that and walk them through that.
Do you still have, work camps coming in?
We haven't had like a work camp, like a Church of the Brethren work camp. We haven't had one since before COVID. I actually meant to ask Pastor Josiah that question and I forgot, so thank you for reminding me. Marie Benner Rhodes, she used to come down and work with Pastor Josiah and myself to bring a work camp every summer. I don't know if we're gonna redo that. I have to check with them, so we haven't in a while, but we could. We also do have work groups. So we have an amazing volunteer coordinator who works with Dennis to bring groups in, so we do have opportunities for groups to come in.
Yeah, we were there in the nineties. And it was a really great experience where this was junior high kids. It was a great experience because not only were we at Brethren Housing, we slept in the church that time, but we also went to some of the other shelters that were in the area in Harrisburg. So that it was a rich experience in showing what is really going on for our neighbors.
That was always really kind of neat for me to take, because we kind of split up and go different, like I would take kids down our block, Pastor Josiah would take them up another one, and then somebody else would take them, and we just kind of show them around Harrisburg. I think one of the things we always want to show people is that it's a beautiful, thriving community. Everybody, everywhere has issues. So there are issues, we recognize that, but there's a really neat spirit also in the community. Are we at time? Oh, we're past time. So feel free, we have cards here, we have literature, if you want to take it. We're always available to give tours of the block. Really fun. We're really good at it. So we'd love for you to come hang out with us, see the work, and yeah.
Thank
you
you
so
Jessica.
much.
Denise.
Thank you. Thank you.
Well, yeah. I hear from Jamie. Is there any document? I was asking about documentation. Like. Software, how to use it.
I'm gonna sit this here.
No, I mean, how to use it.
I don't know what
Saying usually it's like.
I don't, and then it was like, it's at 30%, and then I like turned it on again, I was like, yeah, 6%. I mean, okay, well.
Okay.
Right. It's done. Oh my God.
Version in church.
I think I might just.
Software.
Yeah.
So
Hold it or?
I signed up for a training. Thank you very much. It's very informative. They
you.
have such
Thank you.
good presenters.
Thank you.
Good luck with Allison Hill.
Thank you.
I used to work at 19th and Dairy for a bunch.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And
Okay, so you're familiar.
so they built downtown and then I was no longer with the organization.
Oh.
19th and Dairy. Yep, yep. So, well, good luck. No.
Are you staying for service or do you
Yeah.
have to? Okay, good. Very fun. I know you've been with Brethren more than I have.
Oh. Where
are you? Well, I was in Clinton. Memphis. My first.
About it. I actually, I go to a Presbyterian church now, but it's one of the more progressive Presbyterians.
I'm one of the pastors.
That,
Would you like to hand over the sanctuary?
yeah.
Okay.
We also have, this is your charger.
It is, yes. I don't need it at the moment, but I will eventually.
Thank you.
Sure.
So
Sure.
much.
Save the day.
I needed it. I literally requested on hold. Okay, this is fine, 30% left.